Sirupam Sagaratam Saganaragunam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijamasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे. Okay, let's begin. Today's class is all about attaining the supreme Akshara Brahma Yoga. Chapter 8. Mataji, you can share the screen. Yeah. So chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga means attaining the supreme. Okay. So this chapter, so in the last chapter, Krishna told us, his greatness, right? We understood he's the light of the sun, he's the light of the moon, he's the taste of water, he's the ability of the man, he's the intelligent in the intelligence. I mean, he's the intelligence in the intelligent, prowess in the powerful people, right? So now, after knowing this, we need to understand how to attain him, right? So because he's so supreme, he's great, we need to understand how to attain him, right? So that is what he is going to teach us in this chapter. Okay. So today's chapter is all about how to attain him, how to go back to him, right? How to go back home, back to Godhead when we leave our body. Like yesterday, I told you, sooner or later we have to die, right? So why not die rightly, right? To and reach the Supreme Lord, right? Next slide. So Arjuna begins the chapter. This chapter begins with inquiry of Arjuna, right? So what does Arjuna say? Oh my Lord, oh Supreme Person, who is what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. So Arjuna asks a lot of questions, right? What is Brahman? What is the self? So I think five things, right? What is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. So how does this Lord of Sacrifice? The next question Arjuna asks is, how does the Lord of Sacrifice, that is Paramatma, right? Paramatma is called Yogeshwara, right? Vishnu, because he is the king of all sacrifices. How does the Lord of Sacrifice live in the body? And in which part does he live? Right? Oh Madhusudana. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? That is the whole moral, right? Whatever we do when we are alive is practice, right? Or preparation for the exam. What is the exam? Death is the exam. So at the time of death, are you able to pass in your exam? As in, remember the Lord. That is what is important. Okay, next slide, Mataji. So now Krishna starts answering. So what does he say? Jara marana mokshaya mama shrityaya tantiye te brahma tad vidukritsnam adhyatmam karma chakilam sadbhid bhutadi daiva mam sadiyatnyam chaye vidhu prayana kale apichama te viduryukta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Mataji, we lost your voice.
No, I was on mute. Okay, next slide. So Krishna starts explaining all the answers that Arjuna is, questions that Arjuna is asking. Krishna starts answering one by one. What is the same? So first question Arjuna asks is, what is Brahman? So Krishna says Brahman is the spirit or the jiva, indestructible living entity. All of us, we are all Brahman, right? We are all transformation of Brahman only. Even the material world, the cosmic manifestation is Brahman, right? Brahman is energy of the Lord. It is the spiritual energy of the Lord. Okay? That is Jiva. We ourselves. It's the indestructible living entity. So Jiva is indestructible. We learnt in the second chapter, right? Ahanyate hanyamane sharira. When the body dies, the soul is still alive, it doesn't die. Next, Adhyatma, right? Adhyatma is the controller of the body. Or there are two controllers actually. We learn this in the 13th chapter. Okay. Here we are learning just about one controller, that is ourselves. Right? If you want to lift the hand, you will lift, the hand will be lifted, right? Example. That means you are controlling. The soul is controlling. Jiva. Right? That is Adhyatma, controller of the body. Then Karma. Karma is the activities that we do or the actions that we do. This we already learned, right? The activities or the karma. Any activity you do is karma. Your profession, your any activity you do, even breathing is karma, right? Then Adi Bhuta, material manifestation. Okay, that is the Adi Bhuta. Adi Bhuta means the material nature that we see around this world, material world. That is Adi Bhuta. And then we have something called Adi Daiva. Adi Daiva is supreme demigod, right? The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods. This is what we will be learning in 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna will demonstrate his universal form where all the demigods are just parts of the Lord, like bodies, right? All the demigods you will see in the Lord's body. Even Shiva, Brahma, right? The greatest of the demigods, everybody you will see in the body of Krishna, right? That is a universal form, Adi Daiva. Then Adi Yajna. Enjoyer, Yajna means the sacrifice, right? Enjoyer of the sacrifice is Lord Vishnu, who is sitting in our hearts in the form of Paramatma. So Krishna doesn't sit in our heart directly. His incarnation, Vishnu, is the one who sits in our heart as Paramatma. Okay, this is the difference we need to understand. And that's why Paramatma has 4 hands. Okay, Shankhu Chakra Gada Padma he holds. But Krishna has 2 hands. He holds flute and all that, no? That's the difference. Now, where does Adi Yajna reside? Okay, so now where does this Paramatma reside? That is Arjuna's next question. So, he says, Krishna says, in the heart of all, Hrudayam, right? In the heart of every living being, Krishna resides in the form of Paramatma. So, in the heart, there is soul, okay? That is our soul, ourselves. And right next to the soul, there is super soul, that is Paramatma. Okay, soul and super soul. 2 people exist in the body. It's not just soul alone. It's also the super soul. Okay. So now the next question that Arjuna asks, the last question, is how to remember Krishna at the time of death. So Krishna said, that's why I told, Krishna also says the same thing. Practice remembrance throughout your life. Then during the exam, during the death, you will be able to remember. Okay. So entire lifetime is like, what is that? Preparation for the exam, practicing, right? And death is the real exam, right? If you've practiced well, if you've prepared well, then in the exam hall, you will not panic. Rather, you will get correct answers. You'll remember, you will write nicely, and you'll score full marks, right? Same way, throughout our life, if we do our sadhana properly, engage ourselves in devotional service properly, chant well 16 rounds a day, all this if you do sincerely, regularly, not weekends, or some day in a year. No, every day if you do this, then at the time of death, right, Krishna will help us to remember Krishna at the time of death. Okay, next slide, Mataji. So the Supreme Lord said the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma, or the fruit of activities. So what do we understand from this? Krishna is saying actions pertaining to the development of these material bodies. You can see right in the picture, so many material bodies are there. Next, it's an animation, Mataji, so that the picture will appear. Next. So there is oh, it's not coming. Yeah. So you can see so many bodies, right? So how do you get these bodies? You get these bodies based on your karma. That is what Krishna is saying. Action pertaining to the development of these bodies. Right? So whatever based on your action, based on your karma, you will get your life body in the next janma. This is something we need to understand. Okay. So say you are, we discussed all this. If you are always engaged in Krishna Bhakti, right, you will go back to Goloka. You will not go back to heaven or demigods or anything. Okay. But if you are very pious, if you're doing only pious activities, not Bhakti, right? If you're not doing Bhakti, but just pious activities, right, for some punya in return, expecting punya in return, then you will go to heaven and you will enjoy there, or you might become a demigod, right? Or yeah, you might become a demigod, right? And you can start getting worship from all the people in general, but you will still not be able to become a devotee. I mean, as in go back to Vaikuntha or Goloka. You will still be in the material world itself, because demigods are also in the material world. But on the other hand, if you are dacoit, looting and everything, and then you'll get that particular kind of animal body, right? If you're eating non-veg, drinking all the time, then we will get pig's body. Why pig? Because pig different doesn't differentiate between what it is eating. It eats shit also, right? It eats stool and everything, and at the same time it eats vegetables and fruits also. So if we are as humans eating non-veg food, then Krishna will say, oh, you're eating non-veg food, you're actually what human being, you're supposed to eat vegetarian food, but you're eating non-vegetarian food. So you're not differentiating between veg and non-veg, good food, edible food, and bad food. So you become a pig, because pig is the one that does that. Can you imagine? Right? And so that is on based on our karma, based on what we are doing, our next future bodies will be developed. Okay, this is what Krishna himself is explaining. Okay, yeah, you can see in the picture. All right. Next slide, Max. Next slide. Next slide. Antakale च माम एव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्ति अत्र संशयः. What is Krishna saying? So now Krishna is coming to the point that Arjuna is asking, how to attain the supreme, how to pass that exam, right? I don't want just to prepare for the exam, I want to pass the exam, right? So Krishna is saying, you want to pass the exam, then at the time of death you have to remember me. How to remember? And what happens if you remember Krishna at the time of death? See, Krishna is saying, remembering me alone at once attains my nature. That means we get spiritual form. We will not, when we die and when we get our next janma, right? We will not come back to this material world and get this gross material body, subtle body, undergo like animalistic life, human life, work in office. No, all this we don't have to do. Why? Because Krishna says he attains my nature. So we will get spiritual body. We will go to spiritual world, Vaikuntha or Goloka. And when we go to spiritual world, we can just enjoy with Krishna. It's the other name of spiritual world is Ananda Loka, right? Because all you get there is bliss, nothing else, right? Because you get bliss from serving the Lord. There is no Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi in spiritual world. What is Janma? There's no birth, death, old age, and disease in spiritual world, right? So what do in spiritual world? There is just enjoyment. More, there is no time. Nobody ages there. Can you imagine? Nobody dies. Nobody takes birth. No time. Nobody has to say, oh, hurry up, hurry up. Time is up for this. Time is up for this. No. No office. Nothing. And there are trees which are called kalpa vriksha in spiritual trees, spiritual sky, okay, or spiritual world. You just go to the tree and ask whatever you want, the tree will give you. You want gulab jamun, the tree will give you gulab jamun. Okay, like how we have trees over here bearing fruits and vegetables, their trees bear whatever you ask for. Can you imagine? And no poverty, no problem for money there. All the, like how over here we build homes with bricks and stones, there it is built with gemstones and gold. Can you imagine the kind of lifestyle in the spiritual world? And it's just happiness. You morning till evening you can do whatever you want and serve the Lord. With the Lord you can enjoy, you can play with the Lord, you can hold his hand and just make a circle, merry-go-round, whatever you want you can do with the Lord. Can you imagine? right? And not just that, one more specialty in the spiritual world is that everybody will have a separate Krishna there. Can you imagine? No need to get fight between ourselves. There's just one Krishna. I want to spend time with Krishna today. You are not letting me. No fighting. Krishna will expand himself into so many Krishnas that each of us will get one Krishna. And you can serve him the way you want, morning till evening. Can you imagine? And when Krishna, when you go back to spiritual world, Krishna personally comes and hugs you and says, welcome, where were you all these days? And all that, he speaks so nicely to you. You get personal welcome from Krishna in person when you go to spiritual world, right? But to do that, we have to practice well, right? So you have to do your sadhana. You have to become a devotee in this life, throughout your life. Then at the time of death, you will be able to achieve this. You'll be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. Next slide, Mataji. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti ha malayam shesha stavaram ichanti kim ascharyam atha param. Hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death every day, at every moment. But a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in this world. So this is something that comes in Mahabharata. So whom you're seeing in the picture is Yudhishthir. Okay, and the other four Pandavas, that is Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, Bhima, they are unconscious. Okay, they fall to the ground. Why this has happened? Because Yaksha, there's something called Yaksha Prashna. Okay, a very nice segment, interesting segment in Mahabharata. So Yaksha would have put all of them to actually unconsciousness, or actually death only, near to death experience that was. Okay. So now Yaksha comes and says, I will ask you questions. If you answer the questions, I will make all your brothers come back to life. Okay. And one of the question is, what is the most wonderful thing in the world? Right. So Yudhishthir Maharaj says, every day we see people dying and still we make plans for future as though we are permanently going to stay in the world. Every day we see a dead body and still we think we are not going to die. Only that person has died. We are not going to die. This is the most wonderful thing. This is called illusion. It's the Maya playing here. Maya is very powerful. We discussed Maya in the last class, right? Very clever, very powerful. She's very strong. She's very, very strong because she's a very pure and strong devotee of Krishna, right? So this is the most wonderful thing. We hear people saying, oh, I'm suffering. People are in ICU. Oh, that person died. This person died. Every day we see with our own eyes, right? People dying, and we still think we are not going to die. We are deathless. Can you imagine? That's illusion. Next slide. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Next slide, Mataji. Yeah. So here Krishna is saying, whatever state of being one remembers, he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So whatever you think, so Krishna spoke about, so this story is completely based on what Krishna is telling in the shloka. Whatever you think about at the time of death, that is what you become in the next life. This story we already discussed, Bharat Maharaj story, how he became a deer, right? So Krishna is saying, so if you think about Krishna all your life, then at the time of death, you will think about Krishna. And when you die, you will get your spiritual nature. But otherwise, if not Krishna, if you think about whatever other things that are close to you, dear to you, then at the time of death, you will get that form. I mean, as in you will think of that when you die, and you will get that form, right? I'll tell you another story based on this principle. There was a person called Kailash. Okay. So Kailash was so attached to money all the time. Money, 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 money. He was a huge millionaire. Okay. So at the time of death, he was on the deathbed, diseased fully. He called his sons, and he was, anybody would say, money, how are you, my children? I'm something and all you'll talk at the time of death, right? But this Kailash was not interested in anything. He was like, money, 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 money. He called his children and he said, you take care of my money properly, take care of my business properly, and all that. Because he was so attached to money and thinking about money at the time of death, when he died, you know what kind of birth he got in the next life? He became a dog. And because he was attached to his house and money so much, He became a dog adopted by the same family members in that house, so that he got to stay in the house and he could have so much of wealth along with him. Can you imagine? Because he was attached to money, right? So Krishna was like, okay, you are so attached to the house and money, you go in the stay in the same house with the same money, right? So as a dog, so dog got all the comforts, right? And finally, you know what happened? The dog was barking and doing all sorts of nonsense. The sons got so angry with the dog and killed the dog. That means that father actually, Kailash it was, right? But the sons, the same sons which Kailash brought up, raised, gave birth to, killed the same father in the form of the dog. Can you imagine? That's what happens to us, right? Madness. This is just madness. Okay. So if you get attached to money so much, then Krishna will say, you enjoy your karmic reactions. Why will he interfere? Right? Next sloka. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmarayodya cha mai arpita mano buddhir mame vaishyasi asamshayah. Right? What is Krishna saying? Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. See, this is important. In the form of Krishna, not in the form of anything else. In the form of Krishna, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And at the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. So, what is Krishna saying? You fight in the battlefield. Krishna, Arjuna, in the battlefield, you fight. Take your bow, take your arrow, and fight. But while fighting, you remember me. That's what Krishna is saying. Can you imagine how difficult it is? Will you remember Krishna when you're doing some brain work? Say you're taking some aptitude test, or say you're writing an exam in the exam hall, right? You're cracking some government exam. If Krishna says, okay, you crack your exam, you write your paper, but you think of me, you will be like highly impractical. This is, will I concentrate on the exam or will I think of Krishna? But what is Krishna saying? Krishna knows it's impractical. Still he's saying, you fight, while fighting you remember me. Can you imagine? With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So, what is Krishna saying? If you think of me in the middle of your most critical, crucial work that you're doing, then Krishna will do that work for you. You are relieved. You don't have to worry about the brain work or whatever. Just think of Krishna when you're doing something. You will not be doing that work. Krishna comes and completes that work for you. That's exactly what happened in Mahabharata. Because Arjuna was thinking, somebody asked the question, right, the other day. It was all made up, right? It was all planned. That's why they won. Why? Because Arjuna was thinking about Krishna. He got the instruction. He started thinking about the Krishna, and all the other Pandavas were devotees. So they naturally were thinking about the Krishna, about the Lord. So what happened? Krishna personally started instructing them, do this, do that, and Krishna fought the war through the Arjuna or Pandavas or whoever, and they won. That's magic of Krishna, and Krishna is God. He's not ordinary magician or something, right? So when they have the power of Krishna with them, how can they not win, right? And to stop evil, the path you take to stop evil doesn't matter, because evil has to stop. Only then the general public in future will get benefited, right? However it is, all is fair in love and war, right? Next sloka. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya paramam purusham divyam yati parthanu chintayam. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, O Partha, is sure to achieve me, reach me. Right? So, next slide, we will see a shloka, story based on this. Right? Very famous story called Ajamila story. Right? So, what happens here? Next slide, Mataji. Yeah. Here you're seeing the picture is Ajamila. Okay. So he had gone to the forest, right, to get some flowers. So he's born in a Brahmin family. Right from the childhood, he's trained to become a devotee. He was a Vaishnava. He's a Brahmin. You can see the Brahminical thread and everything, right? So he went to the forest one day to get flowers for the Lord. Okay. Now what happened? In when he went to, you can see, right, that the tree and all you saw, right? So there was some voice, two people laughing and all that. So he wanted to see. He just peeped through out of curiosity. He wanted to see who is that. There's one lady and there is one male laughing and all, having a nice time. So he wanted to see out of bad curiosity. He just peeped through the tree once. Okay, and that's it, gone. Maya caught him. Right? He was such a great devotee, but because of his bad curiosity, he made way for Maya, right? And Maya caught him. Maya caught him so badly that he fell in love with this prostitute. She was actually a prostitute. Okay. He fell in love with the prostitute. He married this prostitute, brought her home, pushed his wife, children, right, parents out of the house. Okay. And he had hundreds of children with the prostitute. So many children. Okay. And to maintain such huge family, what did he do? He started doing smuggling, robbing, looting, and everything. Why? Because he had to maintain so many children and so many family members and all that, right? So he left his Brahmin.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Radhika Mataji. Yeah, no audio, Prabhuji. 1 minute. Let us. Maybe she has lost.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
I'm back. Yeah. So Krishna gave him the intelligence to name the last son Narayana. And because he was the last son and he was old at that time, he was approaching death. Okay. And during that time, he was like, he was so attached to the last son all the time, Narayana, 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 Narayana. So he was on the deathbed and he called Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. Because he called Narayana, yeah, he called the son, right? Not the Lord Narayana. Still the power, holy name is holy name, right? Narayana is Narayana, whether you're calling your son Narayana or the Lord Narayana, the name is holy. Name in itself is holy, right? So he got that blessing from the holy name. And when he died, Vishnu Dutas came, Yamadutas came, right? Yamadutas came because he was a criminal. He did so many bad things. Next slide, Mataji, right? So you can see in the picture how Yamadutas are also dragging him, Vishnudutas are also dragging him, right? And then finally Vishnudutas say, Yamadutas cannot touch him, you cannot take him, right? So Yamadutas like, why? Right? So they said, he called Narayana, the holy name of the Lord. So he's free from all the sins. You cannot take him to Yamaloka. He needs to go to Vaikuntha, right? They were like, what? Right? That is the power of holy name. You can escape all your bad karma, whatever you've done, just by thinking about Krishna at the time of death. For that, you have to offer devotion service when you're alive, right? And then Vishnu Dutas will give him the second chance. He'll go to Haridwar, meditate, get purified completely, and go back to Vaikuntha. No more suffering. Can you imagine? Next slide. You can see him, right? This is the Vaikuntha plain. How nicely Vishnu Dutas are welcoming him, right? And he'll sit in the plane and he'll go to Vaikuntha. Next slide. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is the smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the and being transcendental. He is beyond his material nature. Can you imagine? Haribol, right? So how we should worship the Lord? Knowing that the Lord is the oldest, because he is the creator of even the first creator, Brahma. Knowing that he is the controller, he is the smaller than the smallest, he is the maintainer, he is also bigger than the biggest. right? He's the maintainer of everything, and he's beyond the material conception, and he's inconceivable. With our tiny little material logical brain, we cannot understand Krishna because he is inconceivable. Okay, and he is a person. He is luminous. Okay, he is always radiating light, and he like the sun, and he's transcendental. He is beyond the material nature. We saw yesterday how he is not affected by the modes of material nature, right? Next slide. So you can see here, Lord Brahma does Harikatha, Lord Shiva also does Harikatha. What happens in Kailas? I told you every single day in Shivaloka, what happens? Shiva holds Srimad Bhagavatam classes, sitting along with Parvati Mata, right? They are all greatest devotees of the Lord. That's why they have become demigods. Demigods are not independent lords like Krishna, right? There is only one Lord, one Krishna, one God. All the others are servitors of the Lord, including Balram, including Vishnu, Narayana. They're all servitors of the Lord. There's only one Lord, and all of them do Harikatha in their planets. Okay, this is something we don't know. People just mask half the truth and they just say the other half, right? And that's why we have to always approach the scriptures. Next shloka. मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयम शाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं हरितोषण परमं गताः. So what is Krishna saying? Mam upetya punarjanma. If you mam upetya, if you surrender to the Lord and if you become a devotee, then what happens? Punarjanma dukkhalama shashvatam. You don't take rebirth in this material world. Krishna is defining the material world as dukkhalayam, full of miseries, ashashvatam, temporary, right? You don't have to take rebirth and come to this material world if you become a devotee and start surrendering yourself to the Lord. Rather, what will happen? You'll attain highest perfection. Go back home, back to Godhead. Next slide. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all the species, all the places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes rebirth again. Right? So Krishna says, Shine Punyam Martyaloka Vinshati. So what does it say here? You can go to the highest of the planets, right? With your whatever heaven, or you can go to the lower planets, hell, right? Or you can stay in earth, okay? Wherever you are, after your karma, that particular amount of karma gets over in your account, you have to come back to this earth. Kshine punyam martyalokam vishanti. If you're in heaven enjoying every day, right? After your that much punya gets over. See, enjoyment comes with currency, right? You have to pay for it. You're paying with your punya, your positive karma, right? After all your positive karma gets over, you don't have any currency to pay, no? So what happens? You have to come back to this earth. Okay, even if you go to Brahmaloka, Indraloka, wherever you go, you have to come back to this earth. Again, start your life from scratch. Okay, suffering and all that, living your life. Because that is a chance given to you by Krishna to become a devotee. Every time we come back to earth and get a life, right? Human form of life, especially, it is actually a chance given to us by the Lord to become a devotee, not to come here, go to office, earn money, live our life, eat, enjoy, travel, and die. No, it is a chance given to us from the Lord, by the Lord, to become a devotee, right? We misuse it. That is the problem. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, these are all the different lokas we can go to. Next slide, next slide. Here, Krishna is saying, yet there is another nature which is eternal and transcendental to the unmanifested, right? Eternal and transcendental. So this is the Vaikuntha Loka that I was talking about. Previous slide, Mataji. Right? The previous slide. Here you can see, right? All this is Vaikuntha, where only Narayana and the Lord are worshipped, right? Narayana in Vaikuntha, Narayana is worshipped, Vishnu form. In Goloka, Krishna is worshipped directly in his personal original Krishna form. Okay, so you can see, right? What is everybody doing in Vaikuntha? Everybody is serving the Lord the way they want to. One is playing an instrument, right? One is just doing kirtan of the Lord. One is putting flowers on the Lord, right? The other people are just, everybody are just engrossed in the Lord. They don't have any other thing to do other than worshipping the Lord, serving the Lord the way they want to. There's no other life for them, right? This is what happens in Vaikuntha, Ananda Loka, it's called. You just serve and serve and serve. No enemy comes to attack you. No disease comes to attack you. No death, no life, no birth. No birth. It's just eternal life of just bliss. Who doesn't want to have this? Who wants to suffer? Who wants to cry? Right? We all want this. That means we have to make our concentration steadfast at the lotus feet of the Lord. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible. Next slide. This is the Goloka chart that I was talking about. Right? You can see. If possible, please zoom it on your screens. Right? You all can zoom because the screen is shared. You all can zoom on your mobile phones. Please zoom it. You can see, right? The bottommost part is the Garbhodaka ocean. That's full of water. Right? This is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. There are 3 Vishnus, right? One kind of Vishnu is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Okay. And from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, you can see there are lotus stalk coming, lotus stalk. And on that top of the lotus stalk, there is lotus flower, right? And lotus flower, inside that lotus flower, there is Brahma. That is Brahma Loka, still in the material world. Okay. Then above, down you can see, right? In the stalk, all the planetary systems are there. There are 14 planetary systems, including Brahma Loka. Middle portion, you can see the green colors written. That is where Earth is, earthly planets. That is where we are staying. So we stay here, okay, in the material world. Even Brahma is in the material world. This is called Durga Loka or Durg, okay, or Durga Devi Loka, okay. Now above the material, above you can see the layers covering this Brahma Loka and all that, no material world. After that comes the blue color, you can see, no, blue color sky. There you can see the Lord Shiva Loka, right? You can see, right? Shiva Loka, you can zoom, it's visible, right? That is Kailas. And Kailas is in the margin of this blue color border and the above light blue color border, right? That is Shiva Loka. So that is Kailas, okay? So Kailas is in the margin. It is also in the material world only, but still on the margin, like very border, okay? And then comes the spiritual world. Spiritual world is this blue color, yellow color, round. You can see, so many rounds are there. So that is the Vaikuntha Lokas. There are hundreds and thousands of Vaikuntha Lokas. It's all in spiritual sky. This is all spiritual sky. Okay. So many Vaikuntha Lokas. In one Vaikuntha, one form of the Lord is there. In one Vaikuntha, he is like Narayana. In one Vaikuntha, he is Sankarshna. In one Vaikuntha is Vasudeva, Parthasarthi, right? Madhusudana, whoever. So all the lords, different forms of Vaikuntha, Narayana, Vishnu form. Okay. After that, you can see, the lotus, one big pink color lotus you can see on the top, big lotus, that is Goloka, where Krishna resides in the original Krishna form. So Vishnu is subordinate to Krishna. Okay, Vishnu is an incarnation of Krishna. That's why Vaikuntha is lower than Goloka. Goloka is where Krishna Loka is really there. Goloka. Okay, so in Goloka, Krishna resides in Krishna form. That is 2 hands form, flute, feather, peacock feather, and all that. And where Radha is there, right? Vrajavasis are there. All Vrindavan people are there. Sakhis are there. They're all dancing along with him. So it is in the form of petal. It's not round shape or anything. And there, every every place of residence is in the form of petal of the rose flower. Lotus flower. You can see, right? In one petal, one Leela keeps happening. Hari Bol, right? And this is where we go to in case we become a devotee and chant Hare Krishna every day, right? So next slide. So where we are and where we have to go. So much of difference, no? So we have to cross through all these lokas and reach the top lotus Goloka. For that, we have to do lot of steadfast determination has to be there in our bhakti, undeviation. This is what I told. Everybody will get one Krishna, right? Yashoda here has one Krishna, and in the forest area, if a gopi wants, Krishna will be there for her separate. If a cow wants a Krishna, Krishna will be there for this cow separately, right? So everywhere, Leelas are simultaneously happening. How many ever people are there, that many Krishnas will be there. Can you imagine, right? Next. Next slide. In Mukundamala Stotra, it comes Krishnatvadeya Padapankaja Pancharantam Adyaiva me Vishato Manasa Rajahamsa Prana Prayana Samayika Favata Pitta Kanta Avarodhana Vidhau Smaranam Kutaste. O Krishna, please allow my mind to immediately yield to your lotus flower-like feet, just as the flamingo enters into the labyrinth of the lotus flower stems. When at the moment of my last breath, my throat becomes constricted by the action of the bodily humors, air, bile, phlegm, how will I be able to remember you? So how does death happen? Anybody knows? I don't think so, right? So we have to, if we experience death, how will we here alive? So basically, it's said in the scriptures that death means thousands, okay, or hundreds of scorpions biting you together. If one scorpion bites you, it's so poisonous, so harmful, and it is so what do you call it? It is stingy. I mean, it pains a lot if a scorpion bites you. Actually, okay, I've heard from people who've got scorpion bite. Imagine hundreds or thousands of scorpions biting you together. That much of pain you'll get when at the time of death, because the soul is so inside the body, no, it has to leave, come out of the body, no. So it takes that, it has that much of pain, it creates that much of pain, because soul is inside, it's in at the heart portion, it has to come out, right? So that's why that pain, in that pain you have to remember Krishna. That's the challenge. Okay, next shloka. वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव अध्ययनेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम्. A person who accepts the path of devotion service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing oyster sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical or fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode. That means, I mean, any intelligent person, after seeing this, I'm sure will not go and reject Harinam. What does this even say? Can you imagine? If you accept the path of devotional service, that means you're getting the result of studying the Vedas, although you're not sitting and studying the Vedas. You're getting the result of performing sacrifices, austerity, although you're not doing anything like that. You're getting the result of giving charity, although you're not giving charity. You're getting the result of pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities, although you're not doing that. You're getting the result of everything in the world, every good thing that can exist in the world, just by doing devotional service. How to do devotional service? We already discussed. Just sit and chant. That's it. No need to go to Himalayas. No need to do anything. Just sit and chant at your house, even in the market, even in your car, wherever you are. Just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But regularly, okay? And the minimum is 16 rounds. Start with one round at a time. And I'm sure I also started with one round at a time, right? So we all can reach 16 rounds. Just by doing devotional service, you get the results of everything. Why should you go and do these things separately? Why can't you just sit and chant? It's easy, right? Next slide. This is a summary that we just saw, right? What are the questions, Brahman and everything, right? Next, remembering Krishna at the time of death. That's very important. Tatmat sarveshu kaleshu. Then remembering Krishna's by yoga maya or yoga mishra bhakti, right? And then remembering Krishna by pure bhakti. That is easy, right? Yoga means that hatha yoga and all that, no? You can control your breath. Whenever you want, you can leave the world. All that people do, no? That is a branch of yoga only. That is difficult. Come on, you need a lot of training and everything. But bhakti is so easy. No need of any training. All you need is love. That's it. Love for the Lord, right? So remembering Krishna by pure bhakti is very, very easy and more encouraged. Okay. So material world versus spiritual world, we saw the differences. We saw what is there in spiritual world. Supremacy of pure bhakti is attaining Krishna. That also we covered. Any questions? I started the class early and I finished the class early today. I'm very sorry because there's Nityananda Trayodasi celebration happening, right? So I'm in a temple actually. I've just come out to take the class. I'm so sorry. Any questions? So
There are
let's say a
questions
person
on the
consumes
chat.
meat and offers it to God. Let's say a person consumes meat and offers it to God, as it is okay in some cultures, and recites Krishna's name throughout his life and also on his deathbed. And no, okay. Yesterday's class, I think we saw, right? People offer worship to demigods based on their own natures, not based on how it has to be worshipped. Like I see in my like when in my childhood, right? There was this village where my parents used to go, right? Sometimes to visit their there was a relative, so they used to go to visit in that village. They used to offer, they used to sacrifice chicken and all that, along with wine and all that. They used to offer to some Kali Mata, okay, goddess, Durga Devi goddess, okay. And then they used to have it as prasadam, distribute it to everybody there and have it as prasadam. So my dad was so against it. He was like, how can people eat non-veg like this? Because he was our family is a vegetarian, so he was so against it. And he used to come and tell me. I was a kid that time. So he constantly used to feed it into my mind ki eating non-veg is wrong and all that. Okay. Then same thing Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. You worship the deity based on your nature, not based on the Lord. Okay. So she is Vaishno Devi. Who is Kali Mata? Kali Mata is a Vaishnavi. She is the purest devotee of the Lord. Devotee of the Lord will not touch non-veg. Even Lord Shiva doesn't touch non-veg. Right? I don't know why people assume and presume and do it. And Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita, it depends on their natures. They want to eat all this, so they offer it. Say it is, call it prasadam, call it prasadam. It's not prasadam. Okay, because they have not accepted it. This is something we need to understand. The deities have not accepted it. The demigods have not accepted it because they don't eat that. Okay, and in contrast, there is Vimala Devi, who is again Parvati Devi in Jagannath Puri. Okay, so Parvati Devi does tapasya for lifetimes, right? Asking for what? Krishna, I'm not getting your Mahaprasadam to eat. I also want Mahaprasadam. As in, I want Krishna Prasadam. So she does tapasya. And Krishna says, oh, you want Mahaprasadam every day? No worries. You stay in Jagannath Puri as Vimala Devi. And after the food is offered to Jagannath, it's immediately offered to Vimala Devi because she wants Mahaprasadam. And when it is offered to her, after she has it, okay, after actually a Vaishnava touches the prasadam, it becomes Maha Prasadam. And she is a Vaishnava, right? Durga Mata. So after Vimla Devi has the prasadam, it becomes Maha Prasadam. That is what is distributed in Puri everywhere. Okay, so that's why Puri Prasadam is extra special, not because Krishna eats it. It's because his pure devotee has eaten it. Okay, so Durga Mata is a pure devotee. We cannot offer non-vegetarian food and etc. because you want to eat. You cannot go and offer her and expect her to accept it. She will not accept. Okay, no god accepts it. All the demigods are pure devotees. That's why they have gotten that demigod position. Demigod is a position. Indra is a position. Okay, that position not everybody will get. Only pure devotees will get, and pure devotees will not have all this. Okay, that is important because they have only prasadam. Only what Krishna eats, they eat as prasadam. Okay, they offer it to him and they eat. Mataji, does the Lord Shiva Dham come in material world? Yes, Mataji. I think actually completely material world. It's a different tattva. Shiva tattva is a complete different tattva. It's actually half and half. Okay, not completely material, but at the same time, you can't say it is spiritual also. Okay, it's very different. Yeah, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam's fourth canto, probably we will understand. Even I've not understand Shiva tattva completely, so I won't be the right person to talk about it. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Yeah, Biswas Prabhu.
Mataji, I have a
Hare Krishna.
question. Yeah,
Hare
Mataji,
Krishna. Tell me, Prabhu.
yeah, Mataji, I have a question. So, today I understood from the diagram. So, the uppermost loka, which is Goloka, right? Where you showed a lotus with 1,000 petals.
Yeah.
So, in our body also there are chakras like Muladhara, Sahasrara. The topmost chakra is Sahasrara. So in our material world, if we live in the Sahasrara chakra, is it like same like we're living in Vaikuntha Loka on this earth also?
No way. Those chakras are material. They are again in the body. They are material. They are just energy centers of your body. So your body is material. So the energy centers in your body also are material. Right?
So
It has
after living,
nothing to do with Vaikuntha or spirituality.
so if you live on
Hmm.
the Sahasrara Chakra on this material world, does it ensure that we'll go to Vaikuntha after death?
Yeah, it is there in yogic mentions are there. If you leave your so if the soul leaves the body with Sahasrara Chakra, it actually leaves. I mean, goes directly to Vaikuntha. But you should leave. No, for that to happen, the soul should leave through the Sahasrara Chakra. If that happens, then yes, you will go to Vaikuntha.
Okay, that is my question. Thank you, Mother.
Hare Krishna Mataji, is there a
Hare
difference
Krishna.
between Vaikuntha and Goloka? I understood that much that
What is the difference
Gol
between?
exactly. Is there a fine difference? Because I understand this, both of them have the like one is Krishna and one is Krishna Rupa, like Vishnu's roots. So
Yeah. Okay, I got your
is there a
question. The
yeah?
differences are, the differences is that in Vaikuntha you can't go feed Krishna. You can't, play with Krishna. Okay, you can only serve the Lord as Dasyabha because Vishnu is four-armed. Okay, Vishnu is four-armed in Vaikuntha, right? So he'll be sleeping on that Shesha, Ananta Shesha and all. Can you go and play with a four-armed person? Definitely not, right? You can't go and play with a four-armed person. So that is the difference, Prabhuji. If you want to, play with Krishna and exchange that fine emotions, right? Like a son, if you want to treat Krishna, if you want to put him on your lap and put him to sleep, all that if you want to do, then you have to go to Goloka. Because you cannot behave like Yashoda Mata in Vaikuntha. Such huge Shayana, Shesha is there, Ananta Shesha is there, right? You cannot put that four-armed Vishnu on your lap and all that. That is the difference. Okay, very minute difference.
And Mataji, can if I'm like if the soul travels to Vaikuntha, can it go to Goloka from there?
Yes, in Vaikuntha, you can develop your further devotional service. You can complete it. Okay, whatever is half, you can complete it. Develop those